Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well, hope you're all having a great day, hope you're all doing fantastic. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. You know the deal, just woke up, literally rolled out of bed. There's so much to cover, it's actually a little bit daunting. The last 18 hours, I don't know what's up with the cryptocurrency space. In these short periods of time, it's literally like someone trying to light a bonfire and then the entire village just goes woof. So for those of you who missed it, who were maybe sleeping, didn't pay attention, the US SEC has actually approved every single Ethereum ETF. And even weirder is the sequence of events that quickly followed right after. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission has approved pivotal 19B4 filings for spot Ether ETFs, marking a major regulatory milestone in the cryptocurrency sector. This approval indicates now let me slow down there. Every single article, I don't know what it is, and I haven't been able to figure it out for a while. Someone can lie to you. They can do terrible things to you over and over and over again. But for some reason, when they do something that they have to do, that they are nearly obligated to do, that they should have been doing over the last 10 years, everyone pretends that everything is okay and nice now. Nearly every single article discussing the approval by the US SEC, it writes, "This is amazing because the SEC is showing how willing they are to go above and beyond and to work with the crypto sector and to show good faith." And I'm like, these people are doing it because they have to. There was never a reason for them to reject Bitcoin ETFs for a decade. They got sued, they lost, and then they begrudgingly allowed one of these things to go through. And it's the same exact thing with Ether. We heard this a couple of weeks ago for those of you who were not here. The only reason why people were so optimistic about the Ethereum ETFs was because people knew that all of these companies would sue the SEC would lose, and they didn't want to have to go through that all over again. If Grayscale beat them in a lawsuit, Van Eck, Fidelity, and BlackRock were going to obliterate them. So they had to let this through. People keep forgetting that the SEC, and I bring it back because we know that at least one person in the SEC is a nice person. I was going to choose my words differently there. But we know that Gary Gensler, as the commissioner, usually has one of the highest levels of say in this entire thing. And it's not that, he's now realizing, oh, decentralization is wonderful for the planet. No, he's forced to do so because it's his job as a regulator isn't to say no to a product, it's to regulate it for the American people, which he hasn't done and is now finally doing. This is not some miracle thing that he's doing. It is his literal job. In a surprise decision, the SEC has approved key regulatory filings for spot Ethereum traded funds, a significant step for the second largest crypto. This approval marks a notable about-face from the regulator, which has shown little engagement with issuers on Ether ETFs. That was the weirdest part, as we had heard before that during the Bitcoin ETF sagas that the SEC had kind of lightly played ball because of the lawsuit from Grayscale, so they kind of had to. We had no news for 2 months about any of these things. I remember all these analysts on Twitter were talking about that there was a 10% chance of it being approved. Yeah, because there was no discussion that was had until, 3 or 4 days ago, where someone refiled one of their applications, took the word staking out of it, for those of you who missed that. The SEC has a really big problem with people making money passively from crypto. There's no reasoning as to why. We have not been told why. It is simply they did not want the word staking in the actual applications, which is what many of the ETFs had. The idea being they would buy up Ether, the ETF issuers, and therefore if it had staking approved on it as well, you would also receive some sort of passive income from the staking. And Gary Gensler had a very, very, very big problem with this. And the moment that multiple companies removed the word staking from their paperwork, they all got approved. Some weird dystopian kind of stuff. Yeah, of course, this is incredibly popular news. They approved all of them. The same as the Bitcoin ETFs, which makes a lot of sense as to why all the companies were trying to file. At the exact same time, the current news that we are getting is that these could start trading by mid-June. This is not a 24-hour situation, similar with the Bitcoin ETFs, where they began trading the next day. For whatever reason, the situation might be behind the scenes. Maybe they're ironing out some other things that we simply don't know about. But yeah, mid-June is the time frame that we're getting for these to start trading, at least currently at the time of me making this video. That could change significantly in the next couple of days, depending on how much money is being pushed around across a table in a briefcase. Also in the news, and this is also something that people really need to calm down about, people are assuming that because there are now spot Ethereum ETFs, that Ethereum is now considered a commodity by the US SEC. These people have declared before they consider every single coin to be a security in their eyes. A lot of the news floating around is that, and I mean this is coming from the people from Coinbase, from a number of analysts on Twitter, and all these other places are talking about this is great because this is clearly the SEC bending the knee and saying Ethereum is a commodity. We can't say no to it anymore. Yeah, no, if anything, this actually kind of doubles down on what the SEC has been saying. If they consider this coin and every other coin, keep that in mind, because people keep having discussions on Twitter as if the SEC isn't completely insane. Even the other coins that you're holding, those, especially like the meme ones and all the garbage ones, they consider all of them to be securities. In my view, them allowing these ETFs through is because not only do they think that Ether is a security, but also they have allowed a securitized version of Ether to be traded on stock markets. A lot of the news that's floating around is that them doing this has basically allowed the classification of many other coins now to not be considered commodities, and people, and I mean, I think it's people trying to beef up the prices of their own coins online, but it is a very dangerous line to be walking on, especially right now. There has been no news from the SEC. There has been no nod in Ethereum's direction stating that this thing is a commodity. The security and commodity classifications have been pushed onto us by Bitcoin maximalists a number of years ago when they realized that Bitcoin received the commodity treatment from the SEC, which I also found quite interesting because there was definitely probably some money moving around across those tables, that it was the only coin who got the classification. However, where we currently stand right now, for those of you who aren't paying attention, crypto is quickly taking over on the planet. The adoption rate is increasing quite quickly. And the US SEC is trying to do whatever they can to keep this under their control. If we end up hitting during this bull market a 10, 15, 20 trillion dollar market, they want that under their control. This is I don't understand how people simply assume that people from the SEC are sitting in a room and they go, guys, we need freedom. Like, we need to help these people out. And then they join hands, Captain Planet forms, and then they go, okay, no, this is not how any of this is actually happening. So this was all major news. SEC's ETF decision means ETH and a lot of other tokens are not securities. No one said that. Don't be fooled. Don't have someone lie to you. Don't assume that this is a classification for the other coins that you're holding. No, that's not at all what took place. They're allowing these ETFs to go through, one, because of grayscale, golf clap. They don't want other lawsuits, golf clap, but also they're trying to gain extra control over this market. If you can have people do filings, like the what they want people to literally do, which is insane. For those of you who missed it, the SEC wants normal people to, like hundreds of millions of people, to file constantly their movements of coins with the US SEC, not the IRS, with the US SEC. This is why they went after every single cryptocurrency exchange, saying that every coin that they listed was an unregistered security. This, remember the whole thing about a year ago with Coinbase and their whole kumbaya thing that they had on Twitter? It was the idea that these coins were offered to Americans. Everyone's in trouble. Start filing with us. And it's like, that's not how it works. So in order to gain control, they allow these ETFs to go through, because then people literally have to file with them. And even more so, other banks in other countries also have to do the filings as well. Understand that this is all about power and this is all about money. Yeah, a lot of experts have been saying that. They are completely wrong. None of that information came out, because we would have had explicit news about it if that had actually taken place. So also in the news, for those of you who haven't seen it, people are expecting prices to move up. Why are they expecting prices to move up? Because prices went down. So I saw this news going on. I posted on Twitter, and I had to take like a couple of time to actually relax and calm myself. Because if you missed the hours before the ETF approval, prices began to slink down quite quickly. You might have your own opinions, you might have your own ideas, you might even be correct. At this point, it's weird. It's like 2019, 2018 levels of weird within the market, where news and logic no longer pay heed to anything that's actually going on. Ethereum and Bitcoin's price 4 or 5 hours before the ETF approvals was being pushed down quite heavily by whales. I saw someone online say that it was market makers. Sure, why not? I guess that makes sense, because those are words that I can say. But this is clearly, always has been an effort to push prices down and to get people make sure that they're not in the market and that new people don't move in. There's some kind of really weird consortium behind the scenes. This is not a tinfoil hat moment. This is a realistic thing. Some kind of consortium behind the scene, a group of companies, group of people who are trying their darndest to make sure that prices remain low so that they can buy at a lower price, while also discouraging new people from getting into the market. If you hear that something amazing has happened and the price goes up, tons of people begin to rush in and the price goes a lot higher than you could have accumulated that asset. If you make sure to push that price down, as we've seen many times on cryptocurrency exchanges over the years, it dissuades people from getting into the market, and they choose not to do so, or they think that they'll do it at another time while these companies continue buying over the counter at much lower prices. You might remember when we heard rumors that one company had refiled an application. Ethereum's price rose by 19% in like 4 hours. So upon the actual news of the approval, the entire cryptocurrency market fell by between 4 to 7%. Some of the coins are trying to regain their value because normal people are buying, and other institutions and banks and companies. But there's something behind the scenes that we've gone over many times, and it's not for me to make you believe or understand or think that these things are real, but there are literal psychopaths in this market who will do everything that they can because they want everything in the market. It seems unreasonable. It seems completely unreal, because you probably live in a world where if you have 2 apples and you only need 1 apple, you will hand the other apple to someone else. These people don't think that way. So they're trying their best to literally push the market down as far as possible. I saw articles popping up talking about that I'm not joking, that Bitcoin needs to fall back down to 55,000 and that Ethereum should go back to 2,800 to retest before the ETFs are approved. If you've been missing the news the last couple of days, and I mean literally the last like 4 or 5 days, just Fidelity and just BlackRock together are already accumulating 7 times the amount of Bitcoin that is being produced per day. I don't know if you know math, but it is literally mathematically impossible for you to do that to any other asset and not have the price go up. There's something behind the scenes that we are not privy to because we're not millionaire, billionaire psychopaths, where we are not able to push the prices down as much as we possibly can to make sure that people don't get into the market. And I saw the exact same thing happening to Ethereum. I mean, seconds after approval. It wasn't even a sell the news kind of an event. It was like push the market down as much as possible. I sent a text to my 2 best friends. Hello. I doubt they're listening, but still hello. And one of them, like, he said it and I was like, okay, cool. Makes a lot more sense. He said the exact same thing, you might remember, happened upon the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs. You remember you must remember the video right after, like the very next day, because I was like, why are prices down? We've waited a decade for this thing. Why aren't prices moving? It doesn't make any, because everyone on Twitter was going insane. People were buying as much Bitcoin as they could. And I think that day the price went up by 6% and then was slammed back into the ground once again by the end of the day. And it was like, yeah, this is all huge amounts of price manipulation for the wealthy, once again, to be able to acquire as much crypto that they want or need or assume that they, etc., etc. So a lot of the news right now, we typically would get a lot of Bitcoin price news, Bitcoin price prediction, as Bitcoin is the #1 coin and essentially is the market. But people are now asking, when are prices for Ethereum going to go up? Because mathematically they have to. If you missed yesterday's video, shame on you. But also a lot of people, the assumption has always been that we are going to a $10,000 to $15,000 Ether, and that was by the end of this year. The 2025 predictions are lightly irrelevant, at least at the moment, as this is the news at hand. However, people are assuming that by the time summer is over, we would already have a $10,000 to $15,000 Ether, just because Ether is lower in price, is a lot less liquid than Bitcoin, and then therefore any type of huge amounts of buying are going to have an even more significant price movement than it did for Bitcoin. I think we went from 30,000 something or other for Bitcoin to over 70,000. So therefore, people are assuming this is the assumption, that with the approval of the ETFs and the accumulation levels that we saw before, we would probably have a 4x in Ethereum's price by the end of summer. No one knows exactly what's going to happen, but the anticipation is quite high simply because Ether is tied to every other altcoin. So if Ethereum does well, in theory, then every other altcoin is going to do spectacularly as well. We've seen it before, happen in the past. Same exact thing the other day where Ether went up by 19% and the other altcoins also jumped up as well. There's a lot of anticipation for the market right now as to where people think things are going to go. I mean, it seems completely believable. It doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary, if you will, but yeah, seeing the prices go down definitely got me. And my friend was like, no, that's exactly what happened before. So, manipulators gonna manipulate. Also in the news, and I just, if we could have 5 minutes of peace, and I mean a solid 5 minutes of peace, I think we'd all live in a much better, more calmer world. This is the valuation going down for those of you not looking at the screen. It says Ethereum ETF approvals caused $350 million in liquidations. Yeah, the moment that it happened, all prices began to move down, and I was like, okay, Sure. Why not? This is also major news. So remember when we just got the spot Bitcoin ETFs, and the next morning everyone was talking about the Ethereum ETFs, and I was like, can we just have a moment to celebrate? I mean, can we just literally celebrate the fact that over the last decade, we were trying to get something done? Imagine me and all of you trying to do something over the course of a decade. Think of that. Every single day trying to get it done. And then the day after we get it done, none of you remember and no one's celebrating. No one's having a party. You're like, okay, what's the next thing? It's like we tried for a decade. So immediately after the approval of the spot Ethereum ETFs, the crypto sphere went crazy again because, it's difficult to celebrate any kind of happiness in life. And people immediately began to talk about that someone on CNBC said the word Solana. So now a lot of people, I also got phone calls. A lot of people also think that Solana is going to be the next ETF. I've had people asking before, if you don't know, why I don't like Solana. It has to do, and I say this lightly, it has to do with the idea of purity is kind of like a terrible word to use there. I've been in the crypto market for a very long time, and I adhere to the idea of decentralization and free and fair and open for everyone. So when it comes to actual like decentralized blockchains, I stick to those, and I like those because I like community governance, and I like to be able to see that these blockchains cannot be restarted. The issue is that on many occasions, if you read the news, Solana has literally had to be restarted. You cannot restart a blockchain. You can restart an engine, and you can restart a database. Solana was made by a group of venture capital companies, and I know this is like I'm talking to a wall for some of you, because it destroys the entire idea of what crypto is. Cryptocurrencies, decentralized, permissionless coins, were created as a way to make sure that everyday people, the masses, had access to a form of finance, a brand new financial system that wasn't restricted from them in some sort of way. When you have millionaires and billionaires throwing their money into a pot and creating a database, creating Solana and telling other people that this is the brand new, amazing, awesome thing, it doesn't sit right with me. And I know that many people are just here for the money and don't care about other human beings, which is a discussion we've had many other times before. And this is why many people like Solana, because they can completely overlook the idea that it's not real, that it is literally just a gigantic marketing campaign. And I don't really know what else to tell you. I don't like it. I don't care for it. It's the same exact thing with Tron and many other coins. It was made by corporation money, regardless of what you want to hear. And even more so, I'm sure many of you even love it more now because you're like, wait, there's a corporation behind it. They're definitely going to make money. And that's the difference between you and I and this market, because I care for coins that actually are going to help people, as opposed that are being used as a network to tell people to make meme coins on top of that are all rug pulls so that normal people lose their money, but the network gets more activity and therefore more people on it, more money to be made. It's the same exact thing with DeFi remember DeFi? Yeah, and I kept on telling people, I was like, these are all fake. They're not actually decentralized anything, because they were all getting letters from the SEC that was going to an actual physical location to an office. You can't be decentralization doesn't have an office. And then all the DeFi projects began to collapse because that's how things always work. So there was immediate news that Solana might be the next one to actually get some ETFs, but that was also just a rumor. It was a guy on TV who was probably part of that consortium of companies who created Solana, who said, yeah, it's going to be Solana, but it worked because it caused a lot of buzz. And then the CEO of Ripple was talking online about a momentous day. This is awesome, amazing, can't believe it, whoop, whoop, and all these things about the ETF. And people were asking him, does he think that XRP is going to be able to get an ETF? And he kind of alluded to the idea that it's not impossible for XRP to get ETFs. It's not really impossible for any coin. It's more about strength in the market and like actual interest in a coin. It has nothing, I mean, not that it has nothing to do, but the main idea is how much money can we make from this? The companies need to see like an explicit amount of interest, and it has helped that in the last 10 years, 15 for Bitcoin, that Bitcoin has remained the number one coin, liquidity, and Ethereum has stuck by number two, regardless of 2017 actions and price movements within the market. So this is why I told you a number of years ago, the thing that is going to propel a lot of these coins forward in the future is just relative stability within the market, like not having to move. And that's why I also think the entire idea of the US SEC having this 4-year lawsuit against Ripple kind of plays into the entire idea of like instability, to make sure that something appears wrong with XRP when, you know, the SEC also keeps losing their laws. But that's also another entirely different conversation altogether. I do think at some point, I give it 5 years, I think all the top coins will probably have an ETF. It doesn't seem like that unlikely that all the major coins, and I mean like across the board, there's an incentive for these companies to have a securitized version of all these coins themselves and to also accumulate them. There's nothing really hindering an XRP ETF except for Gary Gensler. There's nothing really stopping a Litecoin or a Cardano or any other. It's just more of a, we have to have this constant discussion because the SEC has been difficult before in the past. The US SEC. If you've paid attention to any other securities commission around the world, why do you think there are already multiple Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs in every other country who's one of them? Because ETFs aren't difficult to issue. It's just been Gary Gensler and the US SEC who's had a problem with these filings. That's why they had a lawsuit against them, and that's why Grayscale won. It's just an ETF. ETFs aren't anything crazy. It's a bundling of assets together to make a fund. It's nothing complex. So at some point, yeah, there will probably be an XRP one. But I assume for the moment, we are going to have a large amount of focus played just on Bitcoin and Ethereum, seeing how well they fare in the market whenever prices do actually move back up. And then they will continue from there, finding other coins that have huge amounts of liquidity. And I assume the coins that do the bestest over the course of this bull market are probably going to get chosen, or we will then begin to hear rumors. Don't forget, we already heard Litecoin ETF rumors a month ago from the actual creator of Litecoin. And I was like, pay attention, because that's quite significant. So yeah, the discussion is now around, was it Brian Kelly? I don't remember the guy's name. Said the word Solana, and literally people were like, yeah. And then also people are now talking about XRP ETFs, but that's been a discussion since the 12th and 13th of January of this year anyway. Also, of course, people are discussing Bitcoin's price and where Bitcoin's going to go, and is Bitcoin going to move? We are drawing near to all those time frames, and we are at the point where normally Bitcoin has begun to react to the fact that the halving has taken place. There's always a bit of a what's the word? A delay, like a really weird, 3 transaction per second delay in the world and Bitcoin's market, realizing that the amount of Bitcoin has been cut in half. That's being issued every single day. I wish, and I really do. I wish I could tell you exactly what's happening in the market. But it's incredibly perplexing to me, because this is not something that's possible. If you've ever at any point sat down, watched Bloomberg, watched stock news, and you hear about a stock buyback, or you hear about stock movements or people buying a stock, prices move up because that's just how things logically are. If you heard that new stock was being created for, if new stock was being created for a company, which happens fairly often, like new stock can be issued by a company, or one stock can be fractionalized and turned into A shares and B shares, not that super important. But if you heard that there was new stock being issued and there was one company that bought up 7 times that much, like you have to understand the actual numbers. And I think a lot of times people don't. I have a friend who's into finance, and I mean like a traditional finance. He loves it. He loves bonds. He loves ETFs. He loves real estate. Like he understands crypto and has heard about it and has coworkers who always talk about it, but it's simply not his thing. So we were talking a couple of days ago, and I was discussing the cryptocurrency market to him, and I could tell that like he simply didn't know. It's the same exact thing when I tell all of you a lot of times. I'm like, do you talk to other people about the market? Because I think if more normal people understood what was going on in this market and the actual numbers, we'd have more people on our side. So I was asking him what he knew about Bitcoin, and he's like, I know that there are coins and it's used and the price is, fluctuating all the time, and a lot of people believe in it. So I said, how many Bitcoin are there? And he was like, there's a lot. And I was like, do you know the number? He did not know the number. So I told him 21 million. He had no idea. And he was like, that's not a lot of Bitcoin. I was like, yeah, it's not a lot. He even said, he was like, there's 8 billion people on the planet. And I was like, precisely. There's 8 billion people on the planet, only 21 million Bitcoin. I then told him that there were only 19 million right now. He's like, that's insane. I told him that it's going to take until the year 2140 to mine the last Bitcoin, and he was like, "What?" Because he understands numbers. So then I was explaining to him that he knew BlackRock, he knows Fidelity, and the other companies I kind of push to the side. I didn't want to have to tell him Cathie Woods is blah 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 blah. And I was like, so there were 900 Bitcoin made per day. He was like, that's also not a lot. I was like, there's now only 450 because of the halving. He's like, what's the halving? I explained to him that the supply of Bitcoin being created gets cut in half every 4 years. And he literally did like one of those Home Alone kind of things where he grabbed his face and he was like, oh my gosh, like how does it? And I explained, I was like, the next 4 years and the next 4 years. And then I told him that just BlackRock and Fidelity alone, back in the, in the olden days in January, we're accumulating 13 times the amount of Bitcoin that was mined per day. And I was telling him that prices rose, and he's like, oh my gosh, of course prices rose. He was like, everyone was talking about it, but I didn't understand it. So then I told him that even now, after prices fell down and everyone's pretending that, nothing crazy is happening with this level of accumulation, for those of you who missed it a couple of days ago, we heard that that just Fidelity and just BlackRock are accumulating 7 times. So that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7x the amount of Bitcoin that's being mined per day. And that people keep pretending that this isn't something, there's no way mathematically on any supply and demand level that you could do that and prices would go down. It's an extreme form of manipulation. It's also, this is the reason why I keep mentioning over and over. There's a reason why this news isn't hitting like your nightly news or any kind of mainstream news that we're hearing. It might be mentioned on CNBC, but then they go, okay, next segment. It's kind of pushed to the side. Same exact thing with the US dollar losing 99.9% of its value to Bitcoin. They're not going to be talking about these things on the actual news. So even crazier is the ease, how easy it is to get people who are into crypto to completely lose interest in the market because prices fall down. It happens every single time. It's really, really interesting. No matter what news we have, because I know that a lot of people don't pay attention and don't really even care for the news. I know a lot of you might. Cool, hello, high five. Right there. But I know the vast majority of people just want price news. And this is why the most popular crypto YouTube channels are just these like analytics channels where someone's sitting in a chair and they're like, yeah, because prices went up here, but they were going to have a golden croissant cross. And then you got to, if you put some butter on it and then it goes down a little tiny bit, then it's going to, and it's this constant, like they also don't know where the market is going to go, but they seem intelligent as they're telling you all of these things. So of course it, appeals to people who want to also try and sound intelligent, that they're listening to these things over and over and over, regardless of what's happening. But the market movements don't make any sense, regardless of what someone's telling you on a screen. Nothing in this market makes any kind of sense. we should mathematically, just based off of movements from last year in the market, we should be well over a $100,000 Bitcoin. The article on the screen, for those of you who are not looking at it, it says Bitcoin will hit $80,000 in May. That's now. Despite outflows to Ethereum. There were no outflows to Ethereum. There was one article that said in Hong Kong during early morning trading, some money from, because they have both, for those of you who didn't know, there are Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong and also Ethereum ETFs. They've had them for a while because there's no US SEC there. The news was that a tiny bit, I mean, it was like $14 million, something like that, moved from the Bitcoin ETFs into the Ether ETFs. Those were the outflows to Ethereum. How don't people know how to count? Why don't people understand these? So anyway, yeah, the optimism for Bitcoin is still quite high. We are getting ever closer to the, remember June, early July, $100,000, $150,000 price predictions. I don't know if or when we're going to get there. Like, I don't know what the time frame is anymore, because we should, just off of sheer logic. There aren't like the narrative that it's just the out, like you must have seen it. Whenever prices go down, the news is always where there was like a 4% outflow from the grayscale and so ETFs, and I'm like, that doesn't constitute prices not moving or prices only going down. There are millions of people around the world who are accumulating. We know that these banks and companies and institutions are in this space and they're buying. Once again, this is clearly a mimic of 2018, 2019, and 2020, because I remember myself saying these words. This market is nonsensical. None of it makes any actual sense. It is all being hyper manipulated by, I can only assume, a very small group of very wealthy people who have probably gone on TV before to tell other people how terrible cryptocurrencies are while they accumulate in the background. Very, very peculiar movements in our market right now. And I guess to finish things off, Coinbase has re-enabled XRP trading in New York. Oh boy. It says, in a significant development for the cryptocurrency community in the Empire State. No one says that. Coinbase has re-enabled XRP trading in New York and subsequently also New York City. I'm going to try and be nice here. For those of you who don't know, this must all be coordinated. There can't be any way that this is not part of some coordinated effort. I'll give you the super short version. Back in 2017, XRP quickly became a fan favorite amongst many people, and I'll say this. If not for Bitcoin maximalists constantly lying to other people on Twitter and online back in 2017, you know exactly who you are because you are diabolical. Back in 2017, XRP probably had a strong chance of becoming the number one coin. XRP became the number two coin quite quickly in 2017. And I say that this way, only needed to double in price once again to become the number one coin. A lot of people were begging Coinbase to list XRP on their platform back in 2017, and Coinbase was silent. And I mean, like, not, oh no, give us like five. No, they literally didn't say a word. They were adding other coins to their platform that no one was asking for, especially the entire 2018 fiasco where they added 30 ERC20 Ethereum tokens to their platform while people were like, dude, we're saying the letters XRP. And this is when the hate really began from Bitcoin maximalists because they realized exactly what was going on. And this isn't even, I can feel someone fuming. I can feel that someone's face has turned red. This is literally history. This isn't me making up something. This is simply the way that things were. And that's when we began to get the idea of an unregistered security, which was also started by a number of Bitcoin maximalists talking about because Bitcoin had received the commodity treatment at the end of or middle of 2018 as the entire regulatory space was changing. And therefore, if Bitcoin is A, then everything else must be B. That was a generalized discussion because also at that time, Bitcoin maximalists also hated Ethereum. You might remember that. You can find the articles. These people were writing scathing articles about a blockchain that they did not create and that they had no control over. It was very like tantrum like. So then what ended up happening is that Coinbase was like, oh, you want us to list XRP? Okay, we're going to look into it. While they kept on listing a number of other coins, the cryptocurrency market began to go down. People started saying that XRP was an unregistered security. We had 3 criminals who filed lawsuits against Coinbase and other crypto exchanges saying, oh gosh, what was it? That XRP lost them. There we go. It was the people who were filing lawsuits, and one in particular always sticks in my mind. It was the guy who lost, now hear this number, he lost $500, not 500,000, not 500 million. He said that because XRP fell down in price the same as the rest of the cryptocurrency space, that he decided to take Ripple to court. $500. That's why I always mention when you when you put money into the market, it's you doing so. You're an adult. You choose what to do with your money that you got from you working. So always remember that, because I remember back in 2018 when the market went down, a lot of people were like, and I was like, don't forget, I do daily cryptocurrency news. You're an adult. You chose to put your money into BitConnect after I told you not to. So what then ended up happening is that there was this really weird gray period where everyone was pretending that XRP was some kind of like virus or monster on the cryptocurrency space. And people began to lie that you could create more XRP. Nope, it was all pre-mined. People began to talk about that XRP was doing so and so and so. Nope, that was also a lie. People began to say that the people from Ripple were going to dump all their XRP in the market. And I said, no, why would they do that? If XRP goes up in price, they stand to have and hold hundreds of billions of dollars. Why? They're not trying to rug pull anyone. And that's when the SEC got involved on the former head of the SEC's last day in office. Talk about corruption. His last day in office, he filed the lawsuit against Ripple, which is still going on. 4 years. The SEC has had this lawsuit going on, and they have not been able to prove anything because there is nothing to prove. So at the same exact time, Coinbase, they rolled out the red carpet for themselves. They announced that they were going to be delisting XRP because of regulatory issues. We then heard, I remember the video, please find it. I remember the video because the very next day after Coinbase delisted XRP from their platform, the US SEC literally came forward and said, we only have an issue with Ripple and their issuance of XRP, its creation, and some other words that they were using. They said crypto exchanges can still have XRP on their platform. How many of you remember that? Because I remember showing it on the screen. I posted it on Twitter, and everyone was reposting talking about, no, like you can relist it. The SEC just said you can relist this coin. Did Coinbase relist it? Absolutely the heck not. We had rumors stemming back from 2017 and 2018 that allegedly Coinbase had pretty big ties with Ethereum and were mainly backing Ethereum over Bitcoin. That's when there was some article, I believe, if I remember correctly, with the CEO of Binance talking about Ethereum and how he expected it to like surpass Bitcoin at some point. I remember seeing all these things. So of course he was not going to list XRP, and the idea of having XRP trading on their platform was something that they simply could not have. If everything had gone as it should have gone in 2017, we would have a very different market. Once again, Just stating the past, just stating history. If you weren't here, I can't help you. If you're here and you're angry at hearing this news, maybe click through some of my older videos because you're simply not remembering how things were. It only had to double in price once again, and it would have become the #1 coin. But the hate against XRP was gimonstrous. Not a word, but you understand exactly what I'm saying. So Coinbase just announced that they're re-enabling trading for XRP, and I was like, you could have done that 4 years ago. You made sure that this coin had a staggering lack of liquidity flowing through it that it could have had before. What exactly changed in the last couple of days that now you have re-enabled trading for XRP? Does anyone know? Because as far as I remember, Ripple won the case against XRP being a security. Wasn't it last summer? Wasn't it last autumn? Why now? Why not before? This is very popular news. I mentioned before that I had a number, they're still there. I have a number of friends who live in New York who were asking me online and through text, how do I get XRP? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not there. So I sent them messages yesterday and they were elated is not the word, but they were like, finally, like what took so long? So yeah, not expecting it to be any type of, hoopla, like really, amazing kind of thing now. They waited an adequate amount of time so that the actual sentiment for XRP had continued to dwindle. And now they can, oh yeah, now we have it back. Why didn't you have it before? Anyway, very popular news. People continue to forget the things that companies and corporations and SECs have done to us and to our market. And they do one thing that they could have done before, and immediately everyone's like, oh, they're the greatest company ever. And it's like, no, they could have done that a while ago. Anyway, yeah, XRP's back in trading in New York. Doesn't that seem like a ridiculous sentence? Because shouldn't it just be everywhere at this point? Uh-huh. Okay. Let's move on. Right. So at the moment, for those of you not looking at the screen, Bitcoin is down by 3.72%. It doesn't make sense. Ethereum is also down by exactly 3.72%. Also doesn't make sense. We know that the ETFs are there. We know that they're going to be traded. We know that the amount of Ether on the market is going to dwindle. Dwindle is something slow. It's going to evaporate very quick. The people who hold the amount of Ether are going to be the only people who are able to create more Ether. That's the way that it currently works right now. Ether is constantly burned behind the scenes and is already a deflationary asset. Why did Ether go down by 3.72%? And it went up. Never forget, Ethereum went up by 19% off of the news that someone refiled an application. Every coin is down right now. Solana is down by 6.8%. I saw people celebrating. I saw it, this movement right here, talking about this was the moment, because people are constantly spreading the news now that Solana is going to $2,000. That the marketing campaign for garbage is crazy. I'm not sure how they managed to do it, but when you have all that venture capital money, of course it's a thing. XRP began to move back up upon the news of being relisted on Coinbase. Of course, that was slammed back down as well. Dogecoin is down by 5%. Avalanche has avalanched. It is down by 6%. Chainlink is up by 2.84%. Also doesn't make any sense because there are no ETFs for Chainlink. There was no Chainlink news. Let's see if anything else is up. Nope. Every single thing is Monero. Monero is also up by 1.8%, which also doesn't make any sense because not that many people are using Monero, and it's also been delisted from every exchange. So, welcome back to another day of price manipulation. in our market. At some point, prices will move up and everyone will go, of course, prices were going to move up, but why are they not moving right now? That's always my really big question. Because, and I'll give it to you this way. If there's 450 Bitcoin created, I know, put your hand down. If there's 450 Bitcoin created per day, and if there were 5 companies who were accumulating the entire supply of newly mined Bitcoin per day, we would still logically be moving up by 0.5% at least per day. No new Bitcoin hitting the market. Bitcoin's super scarce. All the Bitcoin gets wiped out per day. There's no new Bitcoin ever. There will never be new Bitcoin hitting our market ever again. And Bitcoin has consistently gone down. If you've been missing the news as well about Ether accumulation over the course of the last couple of weeks, it's also been quite staggering. And I mean like ginormous amounts of Ether were being accumulated, also without the prices moving. We got the thing that everyone was hyped for, and prices, and I know I can feel people in the comment section giving me answers and giving me excuses and telling me market makers and this is a thing and we had to retest this number and this is I've been here for almost a decade. I've heard it all. This is price manipulation by wealthy people to literally flush out people, to flush out the shorts, to get people out of this market, to make them lose faith. Anyway, yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.